In the content section on your website, there are three main tabs and a recycling bin on the left section under content. We're going to explore the global section. Global here controls all the elements in your website that are used globally, such as the navigation, header, and footer, and things called reusable components and reusable pods, which we'll cover here shortly. There's a general content and settings section. If we click on that, you'll see all the options within here. For instance, we have a general tab which you have the design style, which is referenced from the design tab, which we will go over later, the name of your website, a default social sharing image, and other options for Twitter usernames, overriding language code references, and content direction. You could also set the page not found if you want a custom page to show for 404s, and then you have a global search results page, which is already set to the default search page. The Analytics tab here allows you to add different tracking metrics into these sections. So if you have a Google Tag Manager ID or Google Analytics ID, you could just add those here. The Forms section here will allow you to select different CAPTCHA versions. And if you have an email marketing platform that you want to use for newsletter sign up, you can select those here. Most of the time, these will already be configured for you, so nothing would really need to be changed in these sections. The shop option here is if you have e-commerce set up on your website. If you don't currently have it set up and you're interested in this, please reach out to Aztec and we can get this configured for you. The global content section here has a couple sections for top components, bottom components, and pods and modal window. Basically what this means is that each of the pages have a section where you can add block components. And if, let's just say, you want to have a banner across every single page in your website, what you could do is you could add content here, and this will pull up a list of options as far as blocks to add here, which would be globally placed on every page on your website. So if you want to have a banner on your site throughout, you can add this here into the top section. So this will appear above every component on your website. You can also add bottom components, which would basically do the same thing. But what that'll do is add some sort of content block beneath each section of your website. This is good for, say, if you have a read more section for your blogs or like a contact form that you want to add throughout your entire site. And instead of going through every single page and adding it there one by one, you can add it here, and this will just appear globally throughout your entire website. Same with pods. Pods are basically the same as content blocks, but they have options within them as far as adding blocks within blocks. We'll get to those later. The notification section here is the cookie banner that pops up on the bottom of the site. You can choose to enable or disable this, and then you can add a heading, secondary heading, text, and the accept notification button. And the remembrance accept and duration days section will say how long the cookie banner will be dismissed for until it returns again, asking the user to accept it once more. The script section is where you can add custom scripts globally to the header at the beginning of the header or at the end of the header, and also after the opening body scripts or the closing body script sections. This is for if you had to have some sort of custom script added to your site that you can't add to the regular CMS content or the code base itself. Typically, you don't need to enter anything here, and if you have any custom scripts, you could also reach out to Aztec and we can help with that as well. The Advanced tab just has a checkbox saying do not delete. If you do end up deleting your global content section, you'll have a site that will not function properly and will crash. So going back to the main global section, you have the navigation tab. This has the configuration for all the different navigation options you have on your site, such as your main navigation, secondary, footer, member, call to action, and language. And then there's also the Advanced tab, which is basically just another checkbox saying do not delete. The main section here for your navigation is for the main section of the site where you have all your drop downs in your main navigation. As you can see, there are indents to some of these links here. So basically, layout is the top level nav and all these are drop downs within it. Same with components as well. These are easily configurable in a drag and drop sort of way. So if I wanted to change the order of, say, how these appear in the dropdown, I could just grab the plus sign here and move it above or below the other ones. If If you move it in an indents, this will add another tier of navigation. We recommend keeping it under just one tier, so that way everything is easily accessible. In each of these options, you can edit the particular link by clicking on Edit. This will allow me to enter in a custom text here if I want this to be something different as far as a label. And I can also choose a different link for where this goes in my content. You can also click Remove, which will completely remove the link here as well. Or you could just trash it, which will completely remove this section here. And then you could also add an icon and any other kind of link options here as well. If you want to add a new link, you can simply just click on the Add button here. This will create a new section for a link, and then you click on the Add Link section. And here you can add a custom URL if you're linking out to a different website. Or you can choose something within your website by clicking on one of these options. And if I want to change the order, I can simply drag it. If I add underneath it, it'll be part of a drop-down. If it's dragged out and not underneath a particular link, this will be part of the top-level navigation. Secondary navigation is pretty much the same setup here. The difference for secondary navigation is that there are no drop-downs. So any links that you add in this section will be part of the top eyebrow navigation. That is, if secondary navigation is used on your website. The footer section also works in the same way the secondary navigation does, where you just add multiple links and this populates in your footer. Again, this could be custom configured or not used on your site. If you have any questions, just reach out to Aztec and we can clarify that for you. The member section is for if you have memberships set up on your website. This basically allows the users who are members or not members to have different types of navigation. You can add into the members navigation section pages that the logged in users are able to see, and then when a user is logged out, what they see by default. CTA is just a call to action section. It's a section where you can add a navigation link that renders as a button outside your main navigation. The language section gives you the option to add different drop-downs for different languages if your site is multilingual. If your site is not multilingual, then you don't have to worry about this section. And the Advanced tab also has a disable delete checkbox as well. The footer section controls the messaging and some of the block options that are up here in the footer. All these are block options. If I click on add content, I can add different options in here as far as images, text, or links. You'll see here currently there's things called spacers. And then when you click on the spacers, it shows you that on desktop, it's a width of 1, and on tablet, it's a width of 1 out of 12. So you can change the spacing on this responsively, depending on the breakpoints. Right now we have an address block in here, search links, and then some basic opening times listed here as well. And then there are social links. Here at the bottom, there's also where you can add your copyright message if you have a site credit label, if you want that added here, which can be removed if you don't want that there. Same with the credit link. The Advanced tab also has a checkbox to prevent deletion. Reusable components and reusable pods. Basically what these are is that you can create a component or a block section that is globally managed here, but you can put them on different parts of the site. So if I add this on 3 or 4 different pages, instead of going into each of those pages just to edit that particular block, what I can do is go back to this section here and edit it there, so that way it'll update across all those other pages and I can just manage it globally in one location.